Exposed, shocking 5-year affair of a married pastor reveals incredible redemption in his family. Pastor David Reynolds, a pillar of the Maplewood community, stood at the edge of an abyss. Whispers filled the air, thick and toxic, threading through the town like wild ivy. 5 years, an affair with a woman from his own congregation. It felt like a punch to the gut. David's picture-perfect life was crumbling under the weight of betrayal, leaving his family reeling. Melissa Reynolds held her breath as she read the damning headlines. She felt as if the world was crashing down around her. Tears pricked her eyes, but she blinked them away. "I can't let the kids see me like this," she whispered to herself. Their home, once filled with laughter during family game nights, now felt like a haunted shell. The echoes of their kids, Emily and Jake, laughing, had been replaced by the quiet tension hanging in the air. How could they navigate this? As the news broke across town, neighbors lowered their voices, their judgment piercing through every meeting, every grocery run. There was no escaping it. Melissa tucked a strand of hair behind her ear, forcing a brave smile as she caught the eye of an old friend. But behind that smile was a heart fractured into pieces, each one a reminder of how her husband had cast aside their vows for the thrill of secrecy. Emily clung to her phone, scrolling relentlessly, lost in a world of memes and social media distractions. She couldn't face the reality of what her father had done. A storm brewed within her, an anxious swirl of confusion and disbelief. On the opposite side of the house, Jake's anger bubbled over, and every door slam became a cry for help. How could a family that had once seemed so perfect unravel so fast? As David volunteered at the local Veterans Center, it felt like a fragile attempt to find purpose beyond the mess he'd created. The stories of sacrifice he encountered made him crave redemption more fiercely than he ever imagined. He leaned against the old brick wall, deep in thought, listening to a veteran recount the loss of his comrades. Maybe it was time to confront his own demons, to truly understand what it meant to sacrifice for family. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now, let's continue. Melissa began finding solace in unexpected places, like the coffee shop on Main Street where she met other women grappling with their burdens.
With every cup of coffee and shared laughter, she reclaimed a piece of herself. Empowered by their stories of resilience, she felt a flicker of hope rise within her. Together, they forged an unbreakable bond, encouraging one another to rise above judgment and redefine their worth without the constraints of their husband's actions. As the weeks passed, Maplewood became a battleground for varying opinions. Some offered unwavering support, while others brandished torches of scorn. David stood in the Veterans Center, staring at the determined faces before him, contemplating redemption as a flicker flickered in his chest. Could he mend the splintered quilt of his family? All eyes were on the Reynolds family, waiting to see if love could withstand the harshest of tests. Would forgiveness find its way back home? As the sun dipped below the horizon, uncertainty hung heavy in the air, paving the way for a journey of healing that was just beginning. The morning light slowly filtered through the kitchen window, casting golden shadows across the breakfast table. Melissa sat there, her thoughts swirling like the steam rising from her mug. Each sip of coffee provided a momentary reprieve, but the heaviness in her heart refused to lift. She watched as Emily stared blankly at her phone, fingers flying across the screen, while Jake sat stoically at the other end, angrily pushing his cereal around the bowl. It was as if they were all in separate worlds, tied together by a shared atmosphere of pain. "Mom, can I go to the game tonight?" Jake finally asked, breaking the silence that had thickened around them. It was a simple request, but the tension in his voice spoke volumes. "Of course, sweetheart," she replied softly, forcing a smile. "Just remember to wear your jersey." She longed for the days when Jake would dash in and out, bubbling with energy and excitement. Those days felt like distant memories. As David stepped through the front door that evening, the atmosphere shifted. Melissa took a deep breath, her heart pounding. The last time he had walked in, their lives had been upended. David caught her gaze and hesitated, the weight of unspoken words hanging between them. He was trying to be a better man, but where do you start when you're so far gone? "Can we talk?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Melissa's heart sank. She didn't know if she was ready. "About what, David?" she managed to say, dreading the answer. Still, a flicker of curiosity sparked within her. Maybe there was something he needed to say. I want to fix this, he said, stepping closer, a mix of vulnerability and desperation etched on his face. I know I've hurt you and the kids in ways that are hard to even comprehend. I'm trying to be honest, to own my mistakes, to make things right. Melissa crossed her arms, battling between the anger that still bubbled beneath the surface and the longing for the love that had once filled their home.
Fixing this isn't just about words, David. It's about actions, she replied, the fierceness in her tone surprising even her. As night fell, David sat in the living room, staring at the flickering TV, but his mind was elsewhere. The shelter of everyday distractions couldn't shield him from the guilt that had burrowed deep within. He picked up his guitar, fingers trembling as he strummed quietly. Music had always been a part of him, and for a moment he lost himself in the melodies, penning down thoughts that couldn't escape his lips. Meanwhile, Emily and Jake eavesdropped from the staircase, emotions woven tightly in their chests. They shared a glance, a silent acknowledgement of the storm that raged in their hearts. The idea of their father looking for redemption, could they believe it? "What if he doesn't change?" Emily whispered, her voice tinged with fear. "For once, let's give him a chance," Jake replied, his teenage bravado crumbling beneath the weight of uncertainty. "We've got nothing to lose." Melissa overheard them, her breath catching in her throat. Could she allow herself to hope? Just then, David walked into the room, guitar in hand. "Can I play something for you guys?" he asked with a tentative smile. In that moment, everything paused. The air crackled with the possibility of healing, even as fear lurked nearby. Would they let the music into their hearts, or shut it out as a reminder of their pain? As the first notes resonated, Melissa's heart raced. Maybe, just maybe, a spark of redemption lay in the chords he played. But that spark was fragile, and questions lingered. Was it enough? Could they genuinely forgive him? Bit by bit, they settled into their seats, curiosity drawing them closer. What he played next might just change everything. The soft strumming filled the room, breaking through the tension like a gentle breeze. David's eyes flickered between the children and Melissa as he played. Each note echoed with memories, good ones and bad ones. There was a hint of hesitation in his voice as he began to sing, but the sincerity was unmistakable. "I know it's been hard, being lost, feeling broken," he sang, his eyes locked onto Melissa, searching for understanding. That line hung in the air, a reflection of all they'd suffered, yet also tender. He continued, pouring out his heart in a way that words alone couldn't convey. Jake looked at Emily, his brow furrowing. She shrugged, uncertainty plastered on her face, yet there was a glimmer of hope there too, a thin thread of reconciliation winding between them. As David sang the chorus, he closed his eyes, the music wrapping around him like a lifeline. It wasn't just a performance, it was a plea for a chance, a wish to reclaim everything he had lost. Melissa felt the warmth of recognition wash over her. This was the man she had fallen in love with, the one who could make a room feel safe with his presence. But flickering in the back of her mind was the shadow of betrayal.
Would this song be enough to erase his past? Emily leaned forward, the gravity of the moment shifting something inside her. "He's really trying," she whispered to Jake, her voice barely audible. Jake nodded, his teenage skepticism easing just a bit. In the midst of his song, David paused, taking a deep breath. "I know I can't earn your trust back overnight," he said, looking over at Melissa. "But I promise to try, to fight for us. I will show you through my actions that I love you all, no matter how long it takes." The vulnerability in his eyes caught Melissa off guard. It was raw, and perhaps for the first time in a long time, real. She held her breath, torn between wanting to soften her heart and protecting it from more hurt. As his fingers danced over the strings, David transitioned into a simple melody, one they used to play together. Once familiar, it struck deeply now, a reminder of laughter-filled evenings and quiet moments where love flowed easily. Memories flooded in, a collage of the life they had once crafted as a family. But with those memories came shadows. Moments of betrayal echoed between the notes, reminding her of the gaping hole his actions had left in the fabric of their lives. Yet here he was, attempting to mend what was broken. Could music really bridge that divide? When the last note faded, silence settled. It was a fragile piece, heavy but hopeful. Emily was the first to break it. "I don't want it to feel forced," she said, her voice shaking. "If you're serious about this, Dad, you need to show us, not just sing about it." David nodded, a look of determination washing over his face. "You're right. I need to do more than just talk. I'll do whatever it takes." Melissa felt a stirring in her heart, a blend of fear and hope. A small shift had occurred, but how much was real? She needed to see it, to believe it. As the night dragged on, the family stayed together, processing David's performance. Laughter bubbled up occasionally, but it felt fragile, as if the laughter itself was wrapped in uncertainty. Each member silently held on to their questions, unsure if tonight was the beginning of something better, or another false start. But they were together, and for the first time in a while, it felt like there was light breaking through the clouds. Melissa remained contemplative, a delicate thread of hope weaving through her thoughts. Suddenly, a loud crash came from the kitchen, an accidental fall of a stack of dishes. The sound jolted them all, and everyone turned in shock. "What now?" Jake said, frustration lacing his tone. As they hurried into the kitchen, Melissa's heart raced. What awaited them amidst this trying evening? The scene ahead was about to unravel secrets that had remained hidden, promising to shake their fragile peace once more. She could only wonder what else tonight had in store. In the kitchen, chaos reigned.
Broken plates lay scattered across the floor, their fragments glinting under the harsh overhead light, like shards of their fractured family. It felt like the room had been plunged into an unexpected storm, the delicate hope that had begun to blossom, now threatened by the aftermath of their collective tension. David rushed ahead, his heart thudding in his chest as he grabbed a broom from the corner. "Let me clean this up," he said, voice steady, trying to project calm amidst the disarray. His eyes danced anxiously, scanning each face, hunting for reassurance, or maybe forgiveness. Emily knelt down beside him, her hands trembling slightly. "I can help," she offered, but she wouldn't look him in the eye. Instead, she focused intently on the mess, as if the shards of porcelain could somehow heal the rift in their lives. Jake hovered near the doorway, arms crossed over his chest, an unwilling witness to the awkward moment unfolding. "I just knew something bad would happen tonight," he muttered under his breath. "Jake," Melissa interjected, her voice cutting through the awkwardness. "It's just a mistake." She stepped forward, instinctively pushing aside her frustration over their father's unexpected song. "We all have a lot to unpack. Let's not take our worries out on each other." But Jake's expression hardened. "We were just starting to talk. Now look, Dad's back to doing Dad things, cleaning up the mess like nothing's changed." He gestured to David, eyes narrowing. "You can't just sing and sweep away the past." David dropped the handle of the broom, the clatter echoing in the silence. He turned, frustration flickering across his features. "I'm here, aren't I? This isn't just about me. I see you all hurting, and I want to help us heal, but it won't be easy." Melissa caught the heat between them, the storm swirling in Jake's eyes. She rushed to bridge the gap. "This is new for all of us. We're taking baby steps. Let's just be honest about it." As she spoke, Melissa's mind drifted to the tone of David's song. Each lyric had helped inch her closer toward believing in redemption. But now, standing in the kitchen, she was reminded of the jagged edges left unhealed. The memories of betrayal rose like bile in her throat. Could she truly allow her children to embrace the idea of forgiveness? Emily finally glanced up, her face softer now, though still uncertain. "What do you want us to do?" she asked David, her voice tentative, as if she were testing out the words. "Just say the things you want us to hear." David ran a hand through his hair, clearly torn. "I want to make this home again, really make it a place where we can feel safe and loved. I want to set things right." Melissa felt a flicker of understanding in the room. They were all here, still standing together, even amid the mess. Yet just as quickly as it ignited, that spark dimmed against the weight of past wounds. How could those words be trusted? Jake stepped forward. "But what if you fail again?" "What if this is just the same old story?" "I won't," David replied, his voice firm. "I won't fail again." The words hung heavy in the air. Outside, the night darkened, swallowing the light. But the kitchen felt charged. Something was shifting. Melissa took a breath, letting the tension permeate, swirling with hope and doubt as the pieces began to settle. And then, just as they began to process this, a knock echoed through the door. It was sharp and insistent, sending a ripple of tension through the room. They all exchanged glances, confusion etched in their eyes. Who could that be? Melissa wondered aloud, her heart racing anew. In that moment, a wave of apprehension swept over her. What awaited them on the other side of that door? She could feel the fragile peace slipping away, and the questions began to swell once more. Would tonight bring healing or more complications? As her hand reached for the knob, she realized that whatever lay beyond would force them all to confront truths they weren't ready for, and that uncertainty loomed large. Melissa hesitated, her heart drumming in her chest. Each tick of the clock seemed louder than the last, drowning out the muffled sound of restless breaths around her. As her fingers curled around the doorknob, uncertainty flooded her mind. Could her family withstand another storm? She turned back to face David, Jake, and Emily, their expressions a mix of curiosity and dread. "What if it's more bad news?" Jake's voice was a low grumble, laced with the weariness of too many truths buried under layers of silence. "I guess we won't know until we open it," Melissa replied, her voice steady despite the butterflies flipping in her stomach. "We have to face whatever's out there. Together." She turned the knob and pulled the door open with a sharp inhale. The chill from the outside air filled the room, making her shiver. Standing at the threshold was a woman, her face familiar yet distant, framed by the dim porch light. The tension coiled in the air as recognition hit like a freight train. "Karen?" The words slipped from David's lips, his voice a mixture of surprise and dread. "Hello, David." The woman's tone was soft, but it carried a weight that pressed against them all. Karen's eyes flitted between the family gathered in the kitchen, feasting on the atmosphere thick with unresolved tension. She looked like someone who hadn't found peace in years. "Why are you here?" Melissa blurted out, emotion bubbling to the surface. Her heart raced as memories of past arguments, broken promises, and stolen moments flooded her mind. "I need to talk to you all," she said, her voice barely a whisper against the backdrop of their stillness. "About the past, about David, about our choices." David looked torn, his face a mask of conflict. "This is not the time, Karen." "Maybe it's exactly the time," Emily interjected, surprising herself with her boldness. "We need to understand everything, don't we? The whole truth?"
Pressure mounted in Melissa's chest as she glanced between her husband and the woman who had once been part of their lives in ways she was not ready to confront. The children had a right to know, but did she have the strength to listen to the truths that could tear their fragile connection apart? This was supposed to be their moment of healing, and here was the ghost of a regret stepping right through their door. "Please," Karen continued, her voice cracking, "I come seeking forgiveness and clarity. I owe it to you all to explain how everything spiraled." David shifted uncomfortably, and Melissa could see the turmoil churning in him. "This isn't how I wanted this evening to go," he said, almost to himself, clearly battling emotions that ran deeper than anyone understood. But there was no turning back now. The past had walked in, uninvited, and demanded their attention. Silence stretched unbearably, wrapping around them like a tightly wound coil, waiting for that inevitable release. "Let's hear what she has to say," Melissa finally said, her own voice surprising her with its firmness. She could feel the weight of the moment all around them, like a heavy cloud ready to burst. What lay behind those words, she wondered. Each heartbeat marked the time until they learned if this could really be the shift they needed, or if it was simply another storm heading their way. As Karen inhaled deeply, preparing to speak, the air crackled with tension. Whatever her story held, it threatened to unravel everything they thought they knew. Karen stood at the threshold, her breath shaky, a flicker of vulnerability flashing across her features. The flickering kitchen lights cast shadows, making the room feel smaller, more intimate, more foreboding. David's face paled as he struggled to maintain his composure, emotions threatening to spill like ink on paper. Karen began, her voice wavering, her hands trembling slightly. "I've carried this for too long. It's suffocating. The truth is, everything happened because we were too scared to face our choices." She paused, letting the words settle. "It was 5 years ago." 5 years, Emily echoed, her young face scrunching in confusion. What happened 5 years ago? David shot his daughter a warning glance, but Karen pressed on, her resolve deepening. "I had an affair with David. It was a mistake, a series of mistakes, and it tore apart so many lives." Her gaze locked onto David, pleading. "I didn't mean to hurt you, Melissa. I never wanted this." Melissa's chest tightened at the accusation in Karen's words, like she was the one responsible for their pain. "You say you didn't mean to, but that doesn't change what happened," she retorted, anger and hurt simmering just beneath her surface. "You stole our trust."
"Melissa, please," Karen implored, tears glistening in her eyes. "I can't change the past, but I need you all to understand. David was lost, just like I was."
We found something in each other that wasn't there in our own relationships. Lost? David's voice broke like glass, laced with bitterness. I was never lost until you made your choice. His words hung heavily in the air, and Melissa felt the weight of his hurt. It was a truth that struck a deeper chord. They had lost themselves in each other long before Karen walked back into their lives. Jake broke the silence, his youthful innocence radiating from the tension. "Why are you here now? What do you want from us?" His tiny fists clenched, yet there was a hint of desperation in his voice. "Are we supposed to just forgive and forget?" Karen took a moment to collect herself, her eyes glistening with the reflections of past tears. "I don't expect forgiveness. I can't even begin to ask for it. But I believe that maybe, just maybe, sharing my mistakes can prevent them from happening again. For all of us." David's face contorted with conflicting emotions, his heart clearly battling between the heavy past and the hope of redemption. Melissa watched him closely, feeling the shifting dynamics like a living thing, breathing, twisting, yearning. Could this be the pivotal moment, the keystone that might hold their fragile arch together, or would it simply fracture everything they had? "None of this makes any sense," Melissa whispered, her heart aching. "We fought so hard to build a life together. How can we fix it if we keep dragging the skeletons back into our home?" "I want to help," Karen said, a tear escaping down her cheek. "I've struggled with this pain, and I want to apologize, not just for me, but for the mess we all made. It was selfish, all of it." As revelations unfolded, the shadows in the room began to shift. Melissa felt their family teetering on the edge of something monumental. The air felt electric with possibility, yet laced with an ominous aftertaste. "Maybe we need to talk about our hurts," Emily suggested quietly, eyes wide, voice steady but laden with fear of tomorrow. "Maybe this is the door to a bigger healing we didn't know we needed?" Melissa was struck by the wisdom in her daughter's words. Could this conversation indeed lead to something meaningful, or would it drive them into deeper heartbreak? With each word spoken, they stood on a knife's edge between despair and hope, poised to either build a bridge or collapse under the weight of the truth. The door had swung open, and they were left staring down the uncertainty of what lay ahead. As silence enveloped them once again, a chilling realization crept into Melissa's mind. This was only the beginning. What devastating truths were still locked away? What secrets lay in the shadows, waiting to be unearthed? And would they be strong enough to meet them together? The room felt stifling, each person lost in their thoughts, as the air vibrated with unsaid words. The distant sound of a clock ticking echoed against the walls, amplifying the tension that had settled heavily between them.
Melissa glanced at David, his eyes clouded with a storm of conflicting emotions. His face was a reflection of their past, a mosaic of guilt, regret, and a lingering affection that felt all too complicated now. "What if," Karen's voice broke the silence, soft but unwavering, "what if we don't just talk about the past? What if we talk about the future? What we can all become?" Melissa's heart hitched. The thought of a future felt so far removed, like a distant shore she couldn't quite reach. "You mean rebuild?" she asked, her tone sharp. "After everything that's happened, you expect us to just move forward and pretend it didn't happen?" "No, not pretend," Karen said, her voice stronger now, her tears having shifted to resolve. "I think we need to confront it, accept it, and move on together." Emily shifted uncomfortably, her brow wrinkled as she took in the gravity of adult complexities. "But how? None of this is fair. Why should we all have to talk about our feelings because of your choices, Karen?" Jake nodded in agreement, casting a pleading glance at his mother. "Yeah, you hurt everyone. It's not right." The raw honesty in their children's voices rippled through Melissa. She felt a pang of sadness for them, dragged into this world of adult issues they didn't ask for. "I'm sorry," Karen said, her voice shaking once more. "I know it's unfair. I just thought if my story could help you all, it could give us all a chance to heal together." David shifted nervously, looking down at the floor. "Maybe there is truth in that.
But we can't just forget the pain. His voice was barely a whisper, his shame palpable. What I did with Karen didn't fade away. It hangs like a weight on all of us. Then let's address it, Melissa exclaimed, her voice rising unexpectedly, stirring the air with a mixture of frustration and determination. Everything happened for a reason. We can't just gloss over our issues like they don't matter. They matter. Emily's eyes were wide, filled with a cautious hope. But what if that means everyone gets hurt more? What if it all unravels? For a fleeting moment, Melissa felt the energy ripple through the room, a shared collective fear. The stakes felt higher than they ever had before. Nothing can get worse than this, Karen said firmly, stepping forward. We are in a place where honesty can either destroy or rebuild us. Let's risk it. Let's face the skeletons head on. The room held its breath, caught in a moment of intense uncertainty. Melissa felt the heaviness settling in her chest again, mingled with the tiny flicker of courage rising within. How could they confront the past when the future felt so fragile? Deep down, her instincts whispered, perhaps confrontation could indeed lead to release, a kind of liberation from the pain they had all endured. David finally met her gaze, his eyes searching hers for understanding. Are we willing to face these skeletons? He asked, voice threaded with a hint of fear.
If we don't, we'll keep dragging this pain with us into every moment, she replied softly, her heart racing. This is our chance to choose how we move forward. Just as hope glimmered, uncertainty loomed large. Would they find healing in this mess, or would it tear them apart for good? The very thought seemed insurmountable. As silence fell again, a flicker of determination lit in Melissa's chest, but it was tangled up with doubt, fear gnawing at the edges of her resolve. Would the shadows yield to the light, or would they emerge scarred, forever marked by the choices of the past? The weight of their truth lay before them like a chasm, waiting for someone to take the leap. Who would step forward first to bridge the gaping void, ready to face what had been hidden for far too long? The silence stretched, like a taut string about to snap. Each face in the room reflected an internal struggle, a battle between the desire for truth and the instinct to retreat into silence. Melissa's heart raced as she sensed the shifting energy, knew they were at a turning point. Jake broke the tension, his voice trembling. I feel like I don't know you anymore, Mom. How could you do this, after everything? The hurt in his eyes pierced through the stifling air, raw and unguarded. Melissa turned to Karen. Do you hear that? You've hurt our kids. This isn't just about us. Karen nodded, her mask of resilience slipping just enough for a glimpse of anguish. I know. I can't change the past. All I can do is try to make things right, if you'll let me. Let you? David's voice rose, crackling with disbelief. You think we're just going to give you that chance to make things right? Look where your choices got us. Emily, caught between her parents and the weight of their choices, sat frozen. Can we even move forward, or is it already too late for that? Her voice was small, but the question hung heavy in the air. Melissa felt her heart twist. Emily's fear mirrored her own. What did moving forward even look like? Could they rebuild after everything they'd lost? Nothing is ever too late, Karen replied, her voice steadier now, a hint of urgency threading through her words. I didn't see it then, but I can't keep running from myself, or from you all. I want to be a better person. I want to fight for my family. David shook his head, the muscles in his jaw tight. You can't just say that. How can we trust you? Trust is like glass. Once it shatters, it's nearly impossible to mend. The gravity of his words knocked the breath from the room. Melissa felt overwhelmed, despair closing in around her like a fog. Yet, amidst the darkness, she spotted flickers of light. Maybe trust can't be restored immediately, but we can start somewhere, Melissa murmured, pulling her courage to the front. What if we share our feelings, lay everything bare? It won't be easy, and it sure won't be comfortable, but if we don't try now, we might lose each other forever.
Karen's eyes pooled with tears, emotion sitting heavy in her throat. I want to bear it all. I need to say I'm sorry for the way I destroyed our family, for the lies that built this wall between us. A silence fell again, yet this time it felt different, tentative. David looked at Melissa, then back at Karen, processing her words. If we do this, we need honesty. No more hiding. If we are going to face this together, it's time for everyone, including me, to be completely open. Okay, Melissa stated firmly, a flicker of relief washing over her as she caught the thread of shared purpose between them. Let's do it. Let's lay it all on the table. In that moment, a glimmer of hope swelled within her. Maybe, together, they could navigate the labyrinth of pain. Maybe they could emerge stronger, reshaping their family from the ashes of betrayal. Then who starts? Jake asked, his voice wavering but filled with a spark of courage. The unspoken determination hung in the air like unbreakable glass. Who would have the strength to break the silence first? As the tension thickened and their hearts beat in synchrony, Melissa realized that the first step, being brave enough to share, was only the beginning. But who would step out first into the light of truth, ready to face the consequences? The question lingered, a palpable anticipation filling the room. Everyone could feel it. The moment of honesty was just on the horizon, but who could truly bear that weight? Jake swallowed hard, the lump in his throat immense. He glanced at his siblings, then at Karen, uncertainty mixing with determination. I guess I'll start. He took a shaky breath. It hurts to know you've hidden this for so long, Mom. You should have fought for us, for this family. Instead, you let us down. His voice wavered, emotion pooling in his eyes. A few tears slid down his cheeks and he brushed them away angrily. It feels like you chose someone else over us, and I can't wrap my head around that. Karen's face crumbled. I know I hurt you. I chose wrong, and I made too many mistakes. But you have to believe that every day I think about how different things could be, how I could have been a better mother. Emily shifted in her seat, her brow furrowed. But did you ever think about us when you were doing what you did? Did you even care? The sharpness of her words cut through the air, a mixture of accusation and hurt lying behind them. Yes, I was so lost, Emily, Karen replied, her voice rising with each word. I felt trapped and sought comfort in all the wrong places. I was so far from being the mother you needed. I can't change how I felt, but I want to make it right. Can't you see that? David leaned forward, his voice calm yet firm. We need to focus on the future, not just the past. If we are all out in the open, we might stand a chance. We must find a way to forgive. None of us is blameless in this. Melissa felt her heart swell.
The realization that David was trying to lead them forward, despite everything, gave her hope. They could each take a step toward healing, but the wounds were deep. What do you want from us, Mom? Jake pressed, wiping his eyes, the pain still evident on his youthful face. Can we really move forward, or do we just pretend everything is fine now? It won't be fine overnight, Jake, Karen confessed, her voice softer now, more vulnerable. But if you all let me, I will earn back your trust. I will do whatever it takes to make our family whole again. I promise. Emily crossed her arms, clearly still uncertain. How do we even start? Can we just forget everything that happened? Not forget, Melissa said, her heart racing but her voice steady. But we can forgive and learn to deal with the pain together. It takes time, though. Trust is rebuilt brick by brick. The important thing is that we're here now, challenging ourselves to face this uncomfortable truth. Jake finally nodded, the fierceness in his eyes simmering down. I guess that's a beginning then, isn't it? Yes, Karen said, relief washing over her. The tears spilled over freely now, but they felt more cathartic than sorrowful. Let's share our truth. Each of us has a piece of this puzzle. Maybe together we'll find a way to fit it all back right. A heavy silence enveloped them again, but this time it felt different, like a soft blanket of hope. They were stepping closer to each other, ready to confront not just the painful memories, but to embrace healing. As they considered what each of them needed to say, Jake cleared his throat again. Okay, I'll try, but promise me we all really listen to each other. Promise, the family murmured back in unison. The lightness in the room had shifted, yet the heaviness of past mistakes weighed heavily in the air. Would they find the courage to fully unearth their hearts in the discussions to come? A question loomed larger than any other, echoing through their minds. How deep could their honesty go before it became too much to bear?
As the anxious silence settled deeper, the weight of unspoken feelings hung over the Reynolds family like a thick fog. Melissa took a deep breath, pushing aside the tumultuous emotion swirling within her. It was time to shatter the quiet and face the reality that had taken a tumultuous hold of their lives. "Okay then," she began, her voice surprisingly steady. "I guess I'll go. I've been holding so much in." Her heart burned with both bitterness and hope. "David, when you made those choices, it shattered my understanding of who you were. I felt like a fool, like I was living a lie while you laughed and loved someone else." Tears streamed down her cheeks, the pain of betrayal spilling out at last. "I kept asking myself how I could have missed the signs. What's wrong with me that I didn't see it?" She paused, her gaze locking onto David's, searching for a glimmer of remorse, a flicker of accountability.
And then I realized I wasn't just angry at you. I was angry with myself for believing in us so blindly. The room felt charged, each word igniting something new. David flinched but met her gaze, an ache swimming in his eyes. I wish I could take it all back. I was ashamed and confused. I thought I could find solace outside our marriage instead of dealing with our reality. But I was wrong. I should have fought for you and the kids, he confessed, deep regret coloring his voice. Emily watched her parents carefully. "Dad, you've said sorry so many times. It's hard to imagine a future where your words mean something. Action is what brought us here in the first place." Her tone softened, an echo of vulnerability breaking through her defiant stance. "You have to show us you mean it." "I will, Em." David nodded fervently, determination blazing in his eyes. "It's going to take time, but I'm committed to showing my love through my actions, not just words. I'm willing to put in the work." Jake cleared his throat, his anxiety bubbling just beneath the surface. "And what about you, Mom?" The question hung between them, raw and essential. "Can you forgive him? Will you even allow yourself to try?" Melissa hesitated, the question striking at her core. "Every day since this happened, I've grappled with anger, sadness, and love. It's messy, but I need to start forgiving if we're going to move forward as a family." Karen stepped closer, her voice barely above a whisper. "I wish I could undo everything, but I can't. Please, let my mistakes give you strength. Let them become a lesson to all of us." Her vulnerability nudged open a door of empathy. Melissa felt the warmth of encouragement ebbing through the pain. Perhaps what we all need is to be vulnerable. We need to unearth our secrets and allow our rawest selves to emerge, right here, right now. The room fell silent, the air vibrating as they absorbed her words. Each person held a piece of the truth they needed to explore, scars and wounds that had woven their lives into the tapestry of hurt. Jake spoke up again, his youthful honesty clear. "I want us to be okay. I don't want to lose you all. I just didn't know how damaged we truly were." "I want that too," Karen added softly, her heart aching for the family she had disrupted. "Let's share our struggles, our fears, and our dreams moving forward. We can't heal without opening ourselves up." The tension broke like glass underfoot. It was time to take that leap. Each family member knew they had to cross the threshold together, to embrace the discomfort of vulnerability. Melissa made eye contact with each member of her family. A silent pact formed in their shared pain, threading them together in this complicated moment. "Let's begin then," Melissa suggested, her heart racing with fierce determination. "Let's turn our hurt into healing, metal ourselves into something stronger, together."
And with that, hope licked at the edges of their brokenness like a gentle flame seeking nourishment. The first steps toward healing stretched before them, a pathway thick with potential. As the family embarked on their journey through the labyrinth of their past, Melissa felt a warmth bloom deep inside, a budding sense of resilience. It was time to reclaim their narrative, to embrace each shard of their story, and mold it into a new beginning filled with courage, authenticity, and love. Through tears, laughter, and shared vulnerability, they found themselves lovingly stitched together once more, forging ahead towards a brighter future filled with possibility. Now, as you witness this incredible journey of redemption and healing, I urge you, subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories that will inspire and uplift. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and keep these transformative tales alive. Comment your reactions and feelings about this emotional ending. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Only true fans understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions. Your engagement makes a world of difference.